And then also for the three presenters, Representative Nunez provided a committee sub on your bill, so if you can tell us the distinction between the way the bill was originally drafted and the committee sub as well. And for folks in the audience, the apologies, we got the committee sub late yesterday, but Representative Nunez, thank you.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee, the House Consumer and Public Affairs substitute for House Bill 78 is a little more concise than House Bill 78. And I want you to be sure to look at the bottom there, the number of the one that we should be looking at. But we already have one substitute, 0.5. That is the one that the official. And so, I'd like you to look at what we've done here. We just made some additions from HB 78 to HB substitute. We included some more language on there about identification cards and limiting the duration of licenses, and then providing for the cancellation of driver's license issued to a person without social security. Going through all of that, and then we had some legal questions on whether that was using the legal name instead of just name. It has to be the legal name, and that's what the changes you received yesterday. It's just some. And if you have any further questions on that, I have my whatever you got. Analyst here, but not what we get. That's the main reason the change on 78.
Thank you very much. Would you like to introduce your expert witness? If we let us just have your words on the bill.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, House Bill 78, substitute bill, prohibits the motor vehicle division issuing driver license or identification cards to individuals who are in the country illegally. It requires the motor vehicle division to cancel the driver's license of everyone who did not submit a social security number on the application for a driver's license. And it requires the motor vehicle division to issue only driver's licenses and identification cards that will comply with the Federal Real ID Act of 2005. And for federal recognition and for use for federal purposes. First, all foreign nationals must provide proof of an authorized period of admission or stay before the motor vehicle division will issue a driver's license. The expiration date of the driver's license or ID card issued to a foreign national shall be tied to the expiration date of the foreign national's authorized period of admission. Secondly, the motor vehicle division shall review all of its records and applications for driver's licenses and will mail notices to request a social security number for all applicants who fail to submit a social security number on the application. And the motor vehicle division will provide for a hearing for a person to submit a social security number or an authorized period of admission. If a person does not have a social security number and cannot prove an authorized period of admission, the motor vehicle division shall cancel the driver's license of that person. And the motor vehicle division will be able to issue only driver's licenses and identification cards that meet the requirement for federal recognition of the Real ID Act of 2005. And for example, all applicants eligible for social security numbers shall provide it on an application, and all foreign nationals will provide proof of lawful presence. And Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee, because someone gets a driver's license issued, does not mean that they automatically are going to go down and buy insurance. That's been the big question all along. They don't have to, in most of the case, most of these people are from out of state anyway. And many of these individuals are from another state, and we've got statistics to show what states they come from, and we can show them to you if we needed to. And personally, I believe the state of New Mexico is really aiding and abetting those people that are breaking the federal law by being in the United States illegal. And so, with that, I have with me today, Mr. Chairman, and I don't know whether you all seen the paper again today, the more people that are being caught for hauling in illegal immigrants. And this gentleman in Albuquerque had a house where he had over 20 or 30 people coming in, and they arrested them. And this is happening daily, all over the world, not just from Mexico. It's in Polish, and these here are from East India, and from all over. So it's just completely out of hand. And if we we did not meet the real ID thing by 2014, then these individuals, we're not going to be in compliance, and they won't even be able to get on an airplane with our driver's license. There's only 2 states that have this. That's the state of Washington and New Mexico. All other states have canceled theirs. And for example, I'll give you a good example of what happens is in Florida, they have this, and that's where the pilots that flew into the 9/11 into Washington, that's where they got their driver's license, and with that driver's license, they went and learned how to fly. And so this is a national security issue that we have. And so we need to do that. And I have with me today Mr. Alvin Romero, who is the director of the Tax Fraud Investigation Division for the State Department of Motor Vehicles. And I'd like him to say a few words on this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Romero.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, I'm here to talk a little bit about the law enforcement, public safety perspective. First of all, I'd like to again introduce myself. My name is Alvin Romero. I'm the Director of Tax Fraud Investigation Division and have been acting in that capacity since February the 3rd of 2003. So as you can tell, I've just completed my 8th year, beginning my 9th year in that position. Back in 2005, 2.5 years into my being here with the state of New Mexico, after I retired from IRS criminal investigation, I was asked to take over the Office of Inspector General, OIG, with the Taxation and Revenue Department. With that, as I came here to really focus on tax fraud, that broadened my scope of what I was responsible for, and part of that was taking over Internal Investigations Bureau and Internal Audit Bureau, which was with the OIG. Those folks, Internal Investigations, the other night, we were working till 10 p.m. I think I went home about 9:15 because we were interviewing these 4 individuals here that came out in the paper today. And we were in the process of, we had an operation where they had made appointments to come to get some driver's licenses. We had a tip, and we were working, I can't divulge the law enforcement portions of this because that's not a good idea, but we had a tip when we were working this very, very hard. They were expected to show up the next day to pick up a temporary driver's license for the permanent driver's license would be issued in a number of days, 45 days. And what happened, I think, obviously, they were caught by DEA was doing a sweep down at the train station, Amtrak's train station. They asked some questions. They found out that these individuals had overstayed their visa. So with that, the Border Patrol was called in. They knew about the case we were working, the names of these individuals, and they were basically on their way out of town back to Chicago. But the attempt was in process to get a driver's license. Then they had no intention to, as the law says today, that you have to be a resident of the state of New Mexico. That's the law. This is just merely the tip of the iceberg. Over the last 7 months, we have been working cases of this nature, clusters and sales of these type of groups that involve the Costa Ricans, Chinese, Polish, Brazilians. So it's not a Mexican issue. This is a global issue. What I'm here to say is, once you issue that driver's license to these individuals, and we have a unit, we've got some people working under my supervision and internal audit supervision, a manager, to screen, to go through these things, to make sure that those documents meet a measure of legitimacy before we issue these driver's licenses, as the law says today, which is to issue these licenses to residents of the state of New Mexico. And we're finding out that there are so many schemes out there coming from so many different directions. We have a database now where we know that the same address, the same apartment complex is being used by hundreds of individuals as their legitimate residency area here in New Mexico. We know that's not the case because we've interviewed the apartment complex manager. Different people come in, they sign their name to this particular apartment, and it looks like we've got somewhat hundreds of people living in the same apartment. Obviously, we all know here that's not possible. So it's a scheme. As the crook evolves, our techniques and our approach to how we investigate things has to evolve. We have to change how we look at these things. We cannot operate in a silo and investigate these things how we did it 5 years ago, because the environment has changed. If law enforcement doesn't change, we're not going to catch these individuals that are basically up to no good. They're here to break the law. And the problem with that is once you issue this driver's license, you've basically given these individuals legitimacy. When they're pulled over in New York, in Connecticut, in Georgia, in Florida, when they're pulled over by a law enforcement officer, it's hard for them to understand, to recognize that these individuals were illegal aliens, because they have a driver's license. Like you and me, they're going to be accepted by law enforcement. Law enforcement pretty much has no other choice but to accept those driver's licenses at face value. And therefore, that's where the problem lies. If you accept those at face value, then we have a potential problem with law enforcement. It's creating havoc. If they were to legitimately stay in the state of New Mexico, then we have a New Mexico problem. That's not the case. We have a tremendous amount of information that shows that a lot of them, a high percentage of them, are here in the state of New Mexico merely to pick up a driver's license and head on out of town to legitimize themselves. If they present that driver's license somewhere in another state, basically, forensically, they will get another license issued by some states, and now you've lost the paper trail. So the New Mexico license is long behind them. Now they have a license that even legitimizes them even more, because a New Mexico driver's license is becoming suspect in law enforcement in other states already. I believe the state of Arizona does not even, if you have a New Mexico driver's license, there is a problem. So, and that's the truth. So what we need to do is protect law enforcement. It's a public safety issue. I believe that there would be a better way to solve what the people of New Mexico want solved, but this issuing a driver's license to illegals, foreign illegals, is not the way.
Thank you. Representative Nunez, do you wish to wrap up your presentation, and then we're going to go to the Representative Chavez's presentation?
Yes, all we're doing here, we're trying to bring the law back to the way it was in 2005. That's what this bill does. Brings us back to where it was in 2005. And so it's real important, and I just happen to be on the Board of Trustees for the Village of Hatch, and we have a contract officer for license. And we found that people come into carloads, try to bring them in to get their license enhanced. And we have told our licensed people they're not issuing it. They do, they come in with their carload, and they all have the same address, the same little trailer, and we know that they're not legal. And we don't have to, because we're not a state here. So we have to tell them to go to Las Cruces or POC or somewhere else. Because it happens every day. And it's just getting completely out of hand. And so with that, I ask for your vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Representative. Now we'll go to the presentation on House Bill 401. Apologies if you could just give up the seat for a few minutes, and we'll hear from Representative Chavez on House Bill 4.